Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do a very small video of using an old stamp set called Simply Succulents. This stamp set comes with some dies, or it came with some dies, and it also comes with a big die as well that you could use as on the base for a card if you wanted to. We're going to use some of the dies, so we're going to use the leaf to make the leaves for the image I'm going to create, and I'm going to use the label as well for today. So what you need when you're doing this card, we're going to use some green. This is Mossy Meadow, so I'm going to use Mossy Meadow for the base, and the base for the card is going to be 21 centimeters by 14.8 centimeters, and you're going to score it at 10.5 centimeters. So that's the base. You're going to use a bit of scrap, which I'll show you what we're going to do with that in a minute. We're going to make like a very simple pop-up card, which I discovered when I went to one of my crafting friends' classes the other evening. We're going to use some contrasting vanilla, very vanilla, and you need 2 sheets of these. This is going to be 14.5 by 10 point exactly, and you're going to need 2 of those. One's going to go for the inside, one piece is going to go on the front panel. And you're going to need some copper clay. So this is one of the new colours that Stampin' Up have launched this year, and we're going to use that one to do the pot, and we're going to do a bit of embossing as well, so just a few bits and pieces. There's no real size for that one because we're going to emboss the pot for the plant on it, but you will also need some scraps of the very vanilla so that we can do some stamping. So I'm going to start with the stamping first. So grab my scraps, because it's always useful to use up your scraps. So just a scrap of very vanilla is all you need. Big enough to take that stamp. That is the big stamp in the stamping set, which has got all the succulents on it. So we need a piece that's going to be big enough that we can use to. So just one big piece, and I'm going to use the memento for this one. So that's where we're going to start. So I'm going to stamp memento onto the stamp, and this stamp is quite a big one, so you're going to need, I'm using, which block am I using? I've got block E to put this one on, so you can hopefully gauge from that it's quite a big stamp that you need for this one. So a bit of memento, and I'm just going to pop that onto the very vanilla, and I'm going to do a bit of colouring on that one. That's not too bad, that seems to have come out quite well. Let's go down a bit further so you can see it. So where the colours are concerned, just put this stamp somewhere where I'm not going to put my hand in it. I'm going to use some greens. So I've just grabbed the old olive, light and dark. I'm going to also pop in a bit of the pebbled path as well. Not sure whether I'm going to use light or dark on this one. And I'm also going to go with the Moody Mauve as well, because most of your succulents are quite all different colours green, but they do have like a little bit of mauve in them. I might actually even go for the lemon and lime twist as well as a bit of a mixture. So they're not all going to be the same colour, so there'll be a mixture of different colours where that's concerned. So we just have to see which one we end up using, because I never plan this in advance. I just sort of do it ad hocly as I can. So let's see how it comes out. I'm going to start, I think, with the light old olive. It's always a good idea to start with lights on each one, because you just don't know which one's going to be the best colour, and the light gives you a base colour, so I always start with the light one. So I'm just going to colour in. I'm going to choose to do this, I think, on this one. So colour it all in first. I'm not going to be too particular about going round right to the edges, because obviously if I'm going to use the dark old olive as well as a contrast on it, I need some space for that one. So it's a bit very light. I think I'm going to do it on this one as well. So just literally adding the colour without putting too much detail into the centre of it. So this is where you've got to be able to pick out where the leaves start and where the leaves finish. So normally as you start colouring it becomes a bit more obvious, but not always. So you can see I'm not doing this very well. Now, I think if I was getting marks out of 10 for this, it would be about 5. But that's because I'm going to use the darker colour as well. I just want to make sure I get all the areas that I need. And there you see, I can see straight away that this is part of this one. So I've missed that one out, so I can just go back quickly and pick it back up again. It looks like there's another piece there coming off the stem. And a bit there, I believe, as well. And I think, strange enough, it looks like it's a leaf, but I don't believe it is. I think it's just part of the... So that's the light old olive. So I'm now going to go over this again and go round and add the dark old olive, and that'll fill in the gaps. If you ever look at succulents, the colours are a bit hit and miss all over, so it was quite effective when you don't add it precisely where it should be, mostly around the edges, because obviously for some reason it's always dark around the edges. So obviously the middle as well has a bit more darkness to it in colour, but even that's giving you quite a good bit of a good effect. So always a good idea to just lean back when you're colouring, just so you can get an idea of what you're actually colouring and seeing that you've coloured it in the right places, which hopefully you will do. So if you've never visited my page before, don't forget to subscribe to be able to keep up to date with any videos that I might be putting up, and you'll hopefully appreciate the fact that yes, this is Christmas time at the moment, but I've exhausted all my Christmas cards out now, so I don't need to do too many more, if any at all. Okay, so that's that one. I might use that again, so I'm not going to put them too far away, so I can use them again. So let's go and have a look at the lemon and lime twist and see what we can do with that one. Lemon and lime twist, I think I'm going to put it on to this one down here. So again, I'm not going to be very precise, so hopefully when I use the dark one, it will pick up, make it very, very random. Definitely wouldn't get any marks for colouring this one in. This one's a bit more difficult to do because I can see that that's the edge. So that one I believe is part of it. So yeah, I think that's got that one. And I'm also going to put it up on that one because I just want to mix them up a bit. I want it all one colour in one place, so I'm just going to mix that one up a bit. The colour to the top. That big one, I've got plans for that big one, so I'm not going to do that big one yet, and I believe that leaf is a part of that one as well. So I'm going to do the dark lemon and lime twist now. Oh, wrong end. New pen's very stiff. That's it, we can bring those fill in those gaps. And as soon as you start adding the dark in, you can almost see straight away that it's got a better effect when you don't completely do the right to the edges. Yeah, that's quite a good effect on that one, I think. Might add another colour in there as well. I'm just going to bring that up a little bit so it focuses better. Ooh, you put the ink all over me. Okay, so now this time I'm going to take the dark old olive again, and I'm going to, sorry, the light old olive, not the dark, and I'm just going to apply it to this one in the middle, and I'm going to just randomly do the colouring of this one. The beauty is that I don't have to keep in the lines because I'm doing a random thing, so it doesn't matter if my lines, as long as I don't go over the edges of the lines, that's fine. Now I've done those other two, it's given me the opportunity to be able to see where one succulent ends and the next begins. A bit of Saturday afternoon crafting is quite therapeutic, isn't it? As soon as you start bringing the other colours in against the ones you've already coloured, you can see a lot clearer where we should be going. So now this one, I think I'm going to use some of the Moody Mauve on this one, because this is one of those ones that has a bit of purple in it. I don't know what the names of the succulents are. I know there's lots and lots of different ones that you can get, but this one I believe has got a bit of a purpley effect to it as well. So I suppose you could actually go on and find all the different succulents and then colour them accordingly, but no, I haven't got the time for doing that, so just do it this way instead. And anyway, you've got an artistic license, so it doesn't matter. So that's quite a good one, but I'm going to take the light Moody Mauve. I'm going to give a go at this one, and I'm just going to go round some of the edges on this one. I believe that this one has got those edges that are purpley, and I'm just literally following the lines that are already stamped out when I did the stamping originally, so I'm just literally going round the edges to pick out each of the leaves. And then I shall go also with the lemon and lime as well to bring in that effect. That's quite effective actually. Hopefully you get the benefit of that on this video. And then we just got that last colour one to do, so I'm going to mix up a different colour with that one and use the Pebble Path. That looks quite effective with that Moody Mauve around the edges. I'd love to hear what you're thinking when you watch this video, so don't forget to make a comment. I'd love to get some feedback from you. And I'm just going to use the lemon and lime, the light one, just to fill in the gaps on this one and go around blending in the lighter colour. Hopefully making it look like you would expect to see if you were doing it for real in a plant. That's quite effective, that is, with the lemon and lime. So I'm just going round and round in front of all the purpley effects and just adding randomly, really, not being precise with it at all. But it gives you quite a good effect. And blending it in, I think, helps. Yeah, quite pleased with that one. Okay, so the last one, I think I'm going to go with the Old Olive. Actually, I'm just going to finish off at the top because I've missed that top one. I was getting quite carried away with that other one. So I'm just going to add some dark lemon and lime twist to the top. I think I might actually a smidgen of the dark. This is the light pebbled path, so I'm just going to do the same thing I did with the other one. Just go around the leaf edges. Okay, I've got these ones at the bottom and then this one. So I think I'm going to carry on what this was one. Oh, Granny Apple Green. I haven't used Granny Apple Green. Let's use Granny Apple Green. Well, most succulents are greenish anyway. There's very few that are not green, but I think I'm going to, with this one, I'm going to add in some of the pebble path as well and see what I get. I don't think I've missed any leaves. I'm going to just colour that in there because there's a stalk in that one. Yeah, I don't think I've missed any leaves on that one, but I'm just going to take light pebble path again. I'm just going to go around the edges like I did with the other one. Fortunately, this does have a die that will cut this big pattern out, but it's not too difficult. If you haven't got the dies, you can still fussy cut it. So that's a blessing. I might just use some Old Olive just to fill in as well, especially on these lower leaves in the middle. You get a little bit more shading, don't you, when you see plants. It's better. Right, so all I've got left really is these ones down here, and I think I'm going to stick with the light Granny Apple Green on these ones. I'm not worried too much about any other colour, but I might use a darker one. Of one of the other greens, just to finish it off. The right colour, I think, the Granny Apple Green, because it contrasts quite nicely with the lemon and lime twist and with the Old Olive. So I can see the distinction of that one. I'm using the thicker end as well, so that makes it quicker to colour in. So I don't think I've missed any. Not a bad effort. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut that one out. So I'm going to use the the die cut to do that, I think, for speed. So when you're using any of these, you've got to look at the die and see which is the better shape and work out. And sometimes it's a case of turning it round until you find it fits. That's it. That'll fit nicely on that one. So I'm just going to go and cut that one out, and then I shall be back with you shortly. Okay, so I've cut that out using the die. So that's the biggest bit of colouring that we're going to do. So I need to just pop that to one side, out of the way. So I do need to stamp out the other flower though, so that's the next thing I'm going to do. So the one I'm going to use is this one. So I'm going to use Memento again to stamp that out. And I'm going to go for, that's like Old Olive again. So I'm going to go for Garden Green on this one, and I'm just going to colour this one over, and then I think I'm going to use that purple again like I did with the other one. So then I can cut this one out, and then I can move on to the next bit. So you're going to need your embosser for this next one. And then after I've done this bit, I'm going to colour this in, cut it out, and then we're going to move on to doing a bit of embossing. So you'll need some copper clay cardstock, just a scrap of that. You're going to need the embossing equipment, so the heat tool and also the powder. And I'm going to use, for that bit of embossing, I'm going to use the copper powder. So you'll need, if you've got copper powder, you'll need that one as well. So I'm just going to finish off doing this one, and then I shall be back with you soon. Okay, so we've cut that out, and I can see that it's not quite as close to the edge as I would like it to. So I'm going to bring my scissors in and just trim off those extra bits that I don't want to see. It does leave sometimes an edge when you're die cutting, but not every time that you want one. So I'm just going to go around and tidy up the edges. So it'll take 2 seconds to do that one. And just finishes that bits off. That's better. It did look a bit messy. Don't like it looking messy. Okay. So just put that to one side, and then I can move on to the embossing bit. So as I said earlier, you'll need a bit of the copper clay cardstock. I'm going to use the copper embossing powder, and I'm going to stamp using Versamark. So the first thing you need to do when you're doing any embossing is you need to use what's called an embossing buddy, and basically it's just a piece of material that's got something like corn flour in it, and what that does is it just helps with the static. So always a good idea to just go over with that first before you do any embossing, because otherwise when you come to do the heat tool, it would basically the powder will go everywhere. So the Versamark is just like using the Memento ink, except it's transparent and the powder sticks to it. So make sure you put plenty on your stamp, and then stamp where you've just used the embossing buddy. You'll get an outline like that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle the embossing powder over that and then heat it up, so it gives you a bit of a tint effect to it. Now with the Stampin' Up embossing kit, you can get this little tray which is really useful when you want to use it, and you get a couple of tools, one to hold what you're embossing and the one to brush off any excess of the powder. So always a good idea to sprinkle the dust powder over the item when it's over the tray, and that will just attach itself to that Versamark that we put on there. I always replace the lid because you never know, you could end up wearing what you've just sprinkled on, and just tipping it into the thing and flicking, and just go round checking that there's no excess around the edges like that. So then when you've done that, you can then use your heat tool to heat up. Now this is going to be a bit noisy, so I'm going to pause the video so that you don't have to listen to the heat tool going off, and then I'll come back to you in a few seconds. So bear with me while I'm doing this. So now hopefully you can see how that's got a bit of a shimmer to it now, and it changed colour. I don't know if you managed to see that as I was doing that last bit, but you can see it's got a bit of a shimmer to it. So that's the actual copper powder heated up and then stuck to the Versamark. So what I'm going to do now is I've got a die cutting for this one, so I'm going to use the die cut to cut the pot out. So I'll just nip and do that one, and then I shall be back. And there we go, that's the pot that has been die cut out, and you can see the coppery effect on that one. So I'm just going to put that with the other bits and pieces. I've also previously I cut out 2 of the leaves. So this has been, I've used garden green for this one, so I just die cut them out. They didn't need anything more doing to them other than just die cutting. And what we're going to do is we're going to put those into the pot, and then we're going to have the flower. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue these to the back of the pot. I know that sounds a bit strange, but I'm just going to put a bit of glue onto the bottom of the pot, of the flower leaf, sorry, and then just going to add them slightly at an angle, and do the same with the other one. So you obviously make sure that you're on the right side because you want them facing front. So they're going to go onto the back of the pot like that. And then I'm going to take the small flower that we cut, and I'm going to put that on some dimensionals on the front. Just make some space. Okay, so I'm going to use the mini ones, I think. Just put a few mini dimensionals onto the back of the succulent, so that then once I've done that we can work on the main part of the card. And then As I said to you earlier, I'm going to do a very simple fold. And there's the pot with the succulent in it. Just put that to one side. I don't need that again just yet. And turn to the card itself. Here we have our base card. So, as I said earlier, the base card is 21 centimetres by 14.8, and then score it at heart 10.5. Now, sometimes it's easier to just fold exactly the same measurement, but it just means it's a little bit easier. And you can just crease off the card. Like so. And one of these panels is going to go inside. So this panel, both the panels are the same measurement. So you're going to use the 14.5 by 10 exactly. So just double check that you've got the measurements right. Now I always find that if I do the width first, then I know that I'm fine. By 14.5. And then I'm going to do the same with the second piece. So again, 10 centimetres that way, which is the width, and then 14.5 that way, which is the length. I only want one of these to go inside the card, and it just means that when you're putting your message in, you aren't going to have to put it onto the green, because obviously that won't show it, you won't see the writing. I would say that this card is a masculine card. It could be for a lady if you wanted it to be a lady who grows lots of succulents, but I'm going to treat this as a masculine card. And this card is going to fold that way. So what we now need to do is to cut out a rectangle to go inside the card, and you'll see exactly what I mean in a minute. So bringing in my cutter again, and I'm going to make this rectangle, I think. So it's going to be, yes, it's going to be about 3.5 centimetres, I think. Let's just have a play. Yeah, actually 4 centimetres. So 4 centimetres, and then score it at 1 centimetre. Nearly cut it at the top and the bottom. And then also, so that's 4, so we're going to score it at 4 in the middle, so that then we can make a little shape. Might need to put another one in, to be honest. I'm going to do it again. There. That's better. Okay, so we're going to take a piece of the cardstock, and it's going to be 14 centimetres by 2 centimetres, and then you're going to score it at 1, 2, 7 and 9. So that's 1, 2, 7 and 9, and what that will do will be you'll be able to get a rectangle shape. So once you've got the rectangle shape, you can then glue Just glue those pieces together, and then just make sure they're dried before you do any more. So there you have a rectangle shape. And what we're going to do with the rectangle shape is we're going to put it inside the card. So effectively, if you stand your card up so that the base of the card, you can see the bottom. I'll tip that up a bit. You can see that the bottom of that rectangle will sit quite nicely at the base. And put a bit of glue on that bit. So a bit of glue on this bit, so it stands up against the crease, and then a bit of glue on the back. So when you close the card, it's got to be in the middle. Make sure it's in the middle. When you close the card, it will lie flat, and then when it opens, like so, you can see that that is opening. And what we're now going to do is we're going to put our pot onto that at the base. So I'm going to use a bit of glue in the middle of that hinge, and I'm going to stand it up so that I can rest the bottom of the pot onto the base, onto the card, like that. Hold it just for a few seconds to dry, and then when you close it down, the flower, if you do it that way, you can see that the flower then stands up and will appear. So that's basically the hinge. So we're now going to focus on the front of the card. So that other piece of vanilla we cut, we're going to glue that onto the front of the card. Like so. And then we're going to take some coordinating DSP, and again this is the DSP that came with the Simply Succulents bundle. So we're going to take some of that and we're going to cut that and put that onto the front of the card. So that piece was 14.5 by 10. So rule of thumb, if we knock 4 centimetres off both ends of that measurement, we'll get a bit of a border. But just be careful which way you're going to do your paper. I would always recommend that you do the width first. So that was 10. No, that's wrong. We'll go with 14.5. Let's get the 14.5 shape first, because we need to make sure that our flower, our greenery, is the right way around for the card. So we'll choose this end first. So if we put that on top of the card base as we've got it at the moment, it's the same. It will be the same. So make sure it says 10. So the width is 10, the length is 14.5, and that will be the same as the very vanilla that we've just done. So we won't see any of the borders. So what we need to do is to chop off 4 centimetres from one end, or even 5 actually. 5 is probably a better score to work with. So we'll do 5 at that end, and then we'll do 13.5 at this end and see what happens. So that then that will sit into the middle like so. So that was 9.5 by 13.5. And that will sit in the middle. So I'm just going to glue that on to the card front. Obviously make sure that everything is straight, and then I'm going to use some just plain green that I've got, but I don't want a big piece, I just want a strip of it. So I'm going to just take some of it, and this is like tissue paper. This is from a different stamp set, and it's very thin, very thin strip, and I only want a strip of this because I don't want to lose the image that I've got created. So this piece, I'm going to make it, I think we're going to go with 7. So you're going to be very careful when you're cutting this because it is so delicate. It's like tissue paper. So that's 7 centimetres wide, and it's got to be the width of the piece of cardstock that we did there, and that was 13.5. So I'm going to take that. I might change that measurement because that might just cover up too much. Yeah, you can't see any of the paper, so let's trim that down. So let's make that 4. Because all I want to do is to put that strip across the middle, and again I'm going to use glue on this. Don't push hard if you use this one. If you don't have this very fine paper, you can use just ordinary cardstock and that will have the same effect. And I'm just going to put that across the middle there, so I can still see the pattern paper behind. And then I'm going to add my succulent that I've coloured in earlier. So I'm going to put that on glue. I'm going to glue that. Onto it. I'm not going to do it straight. I'm going to do it at an angle. And then, okay, so we've put our image onto the cardstock, and I've stamped a sentiment out onto the label, and I've used the Very Vanilla, and I've used Mossy Meadow as the ink, and I've used dimensionals to put that onto the card base. So there's our finished card. And we can put our message in and make another pattern on there if you want to, or we can just leave it blank and just write a message in there, and that's the card made. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again very shortly.